Can't get rid of you, man. Like you said, you do the best shows.
I do the best shows.
Yeah.
This is Robert F. Hughes, one of the many intrepid pioneers that helped lead the Western animation industry. Coming into the role of an illustrious animation director, his rap sheet is long and wide. He's got credits on The Critic, Rocko's Modern Life, Family Guy, Invader ZIM. But today, we have to zero in on one series to which he's contributed, a crown jewel of modern Disney television animation, and the franchise I've long since sold my soul to, Phineas and Ferb. We've sat down with him to learn about the intricacies of his time there, but we came out with a wealth of knowledge we need to break down. It's hard enough being an animation director, but to truly step into the mind of one, we have to follow things step by step. By dissecting this guy's life, we're going to show you how animation directors hold it all together. Having to tackle this dude's legacy is no easy task, of course, so today I brought on someone with a set of opposable thumbs to help.
Yep, happy to be here.
Where's the other thumb?
Come on, you bastard! I'm late for work! Oh, this is perfect.
How serendipitous. Anyway, I guess it's no secret now that Tariq and I like the show quite a bit. It's an attribute we've shared long before we decided to flex our superior knowledge on the internet for everyone to see. This is not only a series that you can call back to ad infinitum, but there's so much about it that keeps actively bringing you back to watch it. Like the technical aspects, for example. You know, we brought this idea to fruition because we had to talk about how Candace's eyes are drawn differently from director to director. Yes, really, that is exactly how it went down. It's the little details like that that make this work so nuanced and complicated. It's funny because for as much work as they put in, the directors, especially on the television side, don't seem to get as much love. Everyone wants to talk to a show creator or a prominent storyboard artist on staff, but not so much the people in these roles. I'm sure plenty would represent them hard in the paint, but I think a lot of people don't know the job very well. So that's exactly what we're gonna highlight, because ignorance is something of up with which I will not put.
We'll wake up early and wax our surfboards down.
Animation is 1000% a collaborative effort. Anybody who's ever come close to doing any form of an animated project could tell you that. There isn't a single person to thank for the show that you love, and there isn't a single person to grill for something that you're not feeling. You could yell all you want about how much you hate Seth MacFarlane or whatever, but I promise you, that nigga ain't touched Family Guy in years.
We now return to the Orville on Fox.
Why do you hate that show so much?
Because it's preventing me from doing my work here at Family Guy.
A director's job isn't to create the episode on their own, but more lead the artist into making the best thing possible. This is like common knowledge to a certain degree, right? Once you get out of the phase that you went through when you were a kid where you thought that Matt Groening drew every single frame of Bart, you start to take into totality what exactly goes into making these shows, I guess. But even as an adult, I still was lost on what exactly some people actually do. For example, some shows have directors and animation directors, totally different people.
As detailed by Robbie, came onto the scene in a humble position and steadily worked his way up to tackle both roles.
I was a rental agent. I was a building manager in Hyde Park, you know. And then I started painting cells, and I'm just painting cells going, I can't believe I'm getting paid for this. It was so awesome, you know.
Very few enter the industry to have a senior position off the bat, let alone anything executive or supervisory. Just like you would in school or other social settings, you pick up a lot of valuable skills just through the experience of getting down in the lower rungs. Rob's experiences enabled him to take up this unique position, but as animators are made, not born, he could have come into this role through other paths as well. His experiences and developed methodologies helped him get his groove, finding inspiration in the most unexpected places.
The studio I was working, one of the shows, the one that I was working on was Marathon in Paris. And it's weird to see the way Europeans were doing cartoons as opposed to the way we were doing in Los Angeles. Their sense of humor is different. The French, the artwork is just great. The Parisians have a long history of just loving cartoons, like Tex Avery cartoons and stuff like that. So stylistically, the designs were great.
There's plenty of projects to choose from as far as inspiration goes, but some stick out more than others.
On Angry Beavers, they really did have sort of a back and forth on there. We put Richard in the booth on the stage, and then Nick was out with all the other microphones. So they could banter back and forth, and every now and then they would just like, they'd crack up or they'd swear or something like that.
So Rob also did a lot of work in directing on Angry Beavers. Angry Beavers is one of those cartoons that you don't really hear too much people talk about how much love had to go into putting something like it together, but it was low-key ahead of its time. One thing Rob highlighted when we got to chop it up with him was his experiences with Richard Horvitz, the voice of Daggett, the brown beaver. He also voiced Billy from Billy and Mandy, another show Rob worked on.
So for Richard on Bunnicula, I came to a part where he had to rant about something. So I wrote, allow Richard to rant on this one, you know, da-da-da-da-da, like that. And as he's ranting, I'm sitting in the room, he's like, oh, and it's like this and it's like that. And I'm doing this because Robert Hughes wanted me to do it.
His IMDb says that he directed the Christmas special, but I don't think he remembers that. Imagine making so many cartoons that you just have like a repressed memory of them.
I noticed that you did do one of the Christmas episodes. It wasn't really a Christmas episode, but it was like the sitcom style take on the Christmas.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
Totally forgot about that one. And everybody got their own song. Isabella went off and did a song.
Yeah.
Sat on a stool and sang a song. There was something in there. I really liked that one. Wow, good recall.
Thank you.
I totally forgot about that one.
You look at the landscape of primetime animated shows and you see a certain pattern, right? While I'm not of the belief that all of these shows look and feel the same, that's sort of a generalization that I hate, you do notice that there's heavy emphasis on the dialogue and the character models, even more than a lot of shows that we grew up with. As an artist, animation is already extremely tedious, but not being able to push and make characters emote as you want is a totally different type of pain. 1993. I don't doubt that people actually have fun on these shows, but I'd imagine that any restrictions on an artist would be frustrating to someone.
And a lot of shows are like that. Primetime is like that. Do not do anything that is not in the script. I'm like, I think I'll stay away from Primetime because, you know, then you're just screwing the hubcaps on, you know, and putting the carpet, you know.
Like, leave me alone, son. Just let me draw.
Finished?
No, man! Damn, stop sweating me! I mean, can I draw? Can I put the damn lines on the pages, please? Please?
As we've established before, there's a lot to learn on the job once you get a cushy industry position like this. Not only do you learn the pace of the work, but you learn the pace of the world around you. You'll probably punch up jokes, mind the timing sheets, help polish songs, and learn to move as part of one unit. Though compared to the complex web of interpersonal relationships you develop in your stewardship, the actual cartoon making can just pass you by. There's plenty of ups and downs, and it gets tricky to balance, but once you find your groove, you're not likely to drop the ball.
Premise shows are harder to run. It's harder to find people who are good at it. It's hard to keep that fire in the bottle, you know. It's a controlled explosion, and it's chaos, and sometimes people get mad. Some people hit the wall or storm out or, you know, wave their fist at people, or, you know, every now and then people just kind of go, but they're artists. That's the way artists are. They emote.
Phineas and Ferb, being a highly streamlined, well-timed episodic comedy, had a lot to juggle. The challenges of making an animated series are not to be understated. In fact, in this video in particular, we're just starting to get into it. Having a job like this is one of the wildest roller coaster rides to be found. Outside of the show, that is. But even at its most dull, there's never not a way to live out Carpe Diem.
So, you may not have heard, but I kinda love Family Guy, son. Rob worked on it briefly, as did Dan. Dan's actually responsible for directing majority of the early Family Guy episodes that had really big musical numbers. Anything from Brian Wallows and Peter Swallows to the early Roll 2 episodes to that time Peter and his homies went rollerblading, you know the one. I don't know, so I've always seen similarities to how Family Guy was written in comparison to Phineas, right? But there's a lot of different philosophies that Family Guy follows that carry out into the construction of the series as a whole.
Both Dan and I worked on Family Guy, and this is what Seth would do. He'd punch up in the animatic stage. Like you get a microphone and, you say it, Peter, I think, you're out of your mind. And then your voice goes in to the animatic, and then when it comes back, the actor has to match your voice, which is kind of fun. And everything got punched up. It got punched up at every stage, which both Dan and I, we just thought, well, that's how you do it. So when we went to Disney, our line producer said, you can't change it at the animatic stage. That's not how we did it on this other show. And I'm like, so how's that other show doing? But we had to talk her into it. We had to talk them into it. It was like, that's not how we do it. And it's like, well, that's kind of how we do it. Can we do it that way?
Now, a juggernaut like this did not start off as one overnight. There was a lot of work put into getting it into tip-top shape. Visually alone, the ins and outs of production were vast and ever-expansive.
What we did do was we really focused on the animation of the characters. We focused on it more than a lot of other shows I've worked on because Dan liked what we were doing with what I did with his stuff on Rocco. Working with Family Guy, and Dan did a lot of the musical numbers on Family Guy. And he had some tricks that he used, and he drew up a style guide for Phineas. And the main thing is the musical numbers, how the musical numbers are presented.
From what we were told and what we could plainly see, the show was a highly collaborative experience. Everything from the sound design to the dialogue was rife to be influenced at will. Everyone had the potential to affect how things turned out, and everyone was at least heard out. It's a great atmosphere to be immersed in, especially considering the other nuances of production. Actually, let's get into that for a bit. The role of an animation director is as multifaceted as ever. The more pronounced the glut of their jobs is to track the animation and make sure the timing, character movements, and errors are kept in check. It sounds perhaps like a mechanical position, but there's a lot of creative prowess needed to master it. They are the great middlemen in the pipeline. They streamline the vision of the executives to parse to each respective department. In the case of timing directors, they may have that main job. In the case of a supervising director, they may take the reins on most other things, even narrative elements. As we've gotten into, the environments that the Phineas and Ferb crew came from helped fuel their processes on the show. Not every production is allowed to edit in such a free-form fashion, but doing so does allow the punch-up crew to make everything just a bit more snappy.
Okay!
Everything's a balance, and to me, the most important job of the director is to maintain such an equilibrium. Too much of a good thing is, in fact, pretty bad, even in the mythical realm of cartoons, so you have to tread lightly and learn how to read the room. As you'll come to rediscover here, Rob and the others were not only able to read the room, but they were able to espouse its innermost thoughts and make the psychological breakthrough the room needed to get its life back together. What does that mean? It means they made plenty of bangers back in the day. It's pretty obvious that a major draw of Phineas and Ferb has always been the specials. Not only do they tend to tell the strongest stories, but they also tend to flex their technical muscles the most. Like, at times these hour-long specials look far more cinematic than anything else we had seen previously. Even as they increased in frequency later down the line, there were still plenty of bangers put out to justify their existence. As far as fan favorites go, they're typically the older classics that strike a chord. And these specials in particular would probably make up the highlights reel.
I think me and Deli both agree that Summer Belongs to You has some of the most beautiful animation and cinematography that the show has to offer. There's also a Night of the Living Pharmacist, but Rob didn't direct that. The use of the light source in the opening and the dark colors after the sunset at the end are really what make it come together for me. The special told a story about Phineas and Ferb having a full day, the longest day, and you really feel that through the color design. The colors aren't something that the series is particularly known for playing around with often. Its identity is really bright, really saturated. The word I like to use is cotton candy. I know that's 2 words, but it doesn't matter. This is a video about Phineas and Ferb, not Word Girl.
I think my favorite episode is Summer Belongs to You. That was it was supposed to be a movie, but something happened and it boiled down to an hour. So Dan and Swampy had worked on the story a lot, and that the grand finale at the end, the encapsulation of what a great day it was all Dan and Swampy, you know. So we kind of built a song around, because they were working on that stuff, hoping that it would become a movie, and then it didn't, and it kind of got weird, and then I jumped in and just kind of we made it happen.
I think for me, I really appreciated what the special does for the series thematically, while also setting up a sense of scope. Candace has worked with Phineas and Ferb before, and they've definitely done stuff for her, but this is really the first time she's fully understood their philosophy as to why they do exactly what they do, and why it's so important to them. It's all made evident in the final song. That's a big revelation. How do you follow up on that?
You're a secret agent?
So I remember when Across the Second Dimension was airing, and I remember my best friend not liking that Phineas got so upset at Perry for basically lying to him his entire life. But I don't know, as a kid and even as an adult, I got it. I always felt it was appropriate. I mean, this nigga, he could have been cleaning his own litter box this entire time. Are you serious? I'm out here scooping up Platadookie while you out here going up to go fight a pharmacist?
Actually, I'm an evil scientist. A lot of people are confused by the lab coat.
You're evil? He's evil? I think Across the Second Dimension does a lot of things to elevate the show's visuals, but it's kind of done economically. The opening to Everything's Better with Perry starts off extremely beautiful, but once the first few shots are over, they slowly back out of the visual flair. The Goozum scene has a lot of really amazing poses and character acting bits, especially from Perry and Phineas. The movement's kind of hard to explain. It's really flowy, but it comes to a hard stop in certain instances. The finale has some great colors too, and really nice looking animation during the fight. That's not to say the rest of the film looks bad, total opposite. It's a beautiful looking film, it just noticeably cranks out the big guns at specific moments. I think that Phineas and Ferb Across the Second Dimension in Fabulous 2D, even though there's some CG thrown in there, is fun. It encapsulates the fun nature of the series while also giving fans surreal and marvelous character pairings that we probably didn't think we'd ever get, I'm gonna be honest. The first time I saw Phineas, Doof, and Ferb together, I almost shit my pants. The stakes were higher, the budget was higher, maybe, I don't know, probably, right? Animation's expensive. Here, watch this. That cost $6,500.
With a diddly diddly do and a doodly doodly dee, something horrible will happen if you don't listen to me.
There's a few things from the end of Phineas's run that I missed, and Phineas and Ferb Save Summer was one of those things. I've actually never seen this until 30 minutes ago, so what you're about to hear are my true immediate thoughts. You ready? This is prime terrific to read content right here. Here goes. It was cool. Yeah, it's another one of those really beautiful looking episodes, and the stuff with Doof, Perry, Monty, Carl, and Alka is disgustingly fun. It doesn't rate crazy high for me in comparison to the others. It doesn't have the sense of urgency in the third act like Summer Belongs to You or the cinematic nature of Night of the Living Pharmacist. But for what it is and what they put on the screen, Phineas and Ferb Save Summer is cool. And they keep drawing spiders in this shit. Stop that. Chill, bro. I'm scared.
I think I appreciate Save Summer more for what it represents rather than what it did. When I watched it, I didn't remember much about it, admittedly, other than it being an all-out fever dream in part. I think if I had to ask other fans what the takeaway would be, their comments would be a bit sparse, but to me it did show the depths of the series' written development. Direction is not only delivered for the sake of the visual elements and character movements, but also for the sake of the dialogue as well. Phineas and Ferb definitely streamlined their processes by this point, but narratively speaking, they were just scratching the surface of pure, coked-out pandemonium. There's a lot of experimentation done, and while it doesn't always result in a solid episode, it did make for good lessons along the way. I think the peak of the show's wry, neutral, chaotic energy came for Scalps here. It doesn't always land, but it was cool to see them walk on the wild side for a spell.
You're going down when I get mom to see this ridiculous monstrosity.
Rollercoaster the Musical is a better version of one of the best pilots I've ever seen. Phineas and Ferb has definitely had big musical numbers before. When I say big, I don't mean in terms of length, but more in terms of scope. Summer Belongs to You, Ain't Got Rhythm, even Blueprints. They all kind of have this build-up or bigness to them in comparison to the much tamer records. Rollercoaster the Musical is literally big record after big record, and it never slows up or gets tiring. Even ones that I don't think about too often always get a welcoming reaction from me every time they come on my Apple Music Shuffle right after Jadakiss. Hey, what can I say? I'm versatile. Out of all of them, I've always appreciated the self-titled Rollercoaster record. Phineas and Ferb doesn't have the budget of Family Guy or Animaniacs, so they can't afford a full orchestra. This record was the closest thing they've gotten to sounding like it was like 50 niggas in one room at once. Just listen to those trumpets. Aw, dude, no way. You even mixed the audio awkwardly so people will complain about it in the comments, even though it sounds fine to you. Wow, you really know how to make a guy feel at home, huh?
I don't know what you're talking about. This is just the regular mix. As there is with any good show or any good thing happening on said good show, all good things must come to an end. In between seasons, Rob found himself defecting over to the Warner Brothers lot to work on a few other series, mainly Bunnicula. He said it wasn't much different, except for the treasure trove of sets to explore.
Warner Brothers is cool because we were working on the ranch. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Warner Ranch, but that's their little neighborhood for filming. I went into the crew, I was walking around the lot, and I'm like, oh my god, I went into the crew, and I'm like, that's the Partridge Family's house. And my crew is like, the what?
It's natural to navigate from show to show once your current gig is up, but you often don't get to jump back to a crew you previously left. Rob got to work on Phineas and Ferb's most intrepid projects, but there's plenty he missed as well.
When Milo Murphy started up, I jumped ship on Bunnicula, and I wish I'd stayed. I wish I'd worked on Milo. I wish I'd worked on Bunnicula. It was one of those things where I was like, I was torn, you know. And it's not the hardest decision. I mean, clearly, it wasn't like life-threatening or anything like that. It's like, do I want this big of a piece of cake or this big, you know? But I often wonder what would have happened if I'd stayed on Bunnicula. I wish I had, because Warner Brothers.
The switch for him was pretty easy, but there's always questions of what might have been. As expressed earlier, there's never really just one person to attribute to a cartoon's conception. It takes a village to raise a cartoon, and for better or for worse, it really is a team effort. We really got into the nuances of what animation directors do and how their work makes the masterpieces we find, but getting into their summative work is tricky for the same reasons why it's so good. Animation is just another medium of filmmaking. A bunch of people sit around and make the characters act. A lot of that work comes from the person, but a lot of it also comes from the person directing them. That synergy stands between a mid-tier piece of dialogue and a masterful exchange. To be honest, I don't think most people come to Phineas and Ferb for the animation. It's nothing to scoff at for sure, it definitely had a lot to offer, but it's not what casual fans normally talk about. I know the show has deeply inspired not only my sense of humor, but my color palette as well. From watching the show as long as I have, you not only walk away with the cotton candy color scheme permanently burned into your retinas, but you walk away with a literally sunny worldview. The show is one of the more optimistic of the modern age, and as much as its character dynamics brought that into view, you probably couldn't internalize it the same way if the animation didn't hit. It's a show that wears its unabashedly upbeat and worldly attitude on its sleeve like a badge of honor. But you wouldn't believe it if we didn't get sequences like this. I think it goes without saying, but Rob's carried an incredible legacy on this show. His footprint is invaluable in this giant schematic we call a franchise. Like, for all of season 4, it was basically him and Sue crushing episode after episode. Except for this one. We don't talk about this one. And neither did the credits, apparently. It's the technical equivalent to this mood board of an image. It's pretty wild, but with all good things, his tenure eventually came to an end. Well, Phineas and Ferb's finale aired in mid-2015, production on the main series wrapped up months earlier. In between then and now, Rob's gotten the opportunity to work on plenty of great series. In fact, plenty of the crew have moved on to bright horizons. For example, some of y'all have probably seen this banger on Nickelodeon for a short time, which is the brainchild of former staff writer Antoine Guibald and former storyboard artist Kaz. Just Kaz. More recently, former writers Scott Peterson and Joshua Pruitt have been making waves on the Netflix adaptation Last Kids on Earth. Even Swampy got to work helping to develop Amazon's Pete the Cat series. It's not the most common leap to make, but with a team this talented, it wouldn't be shocking to see most, if not all, the writers end up creating or producing projects. As for Rob's next steps, he's been cooking up some stuff of his own. Anytime an artist is not on a project anymore, they stare into the empty abyss to eventually plunge into the unknown yet again. Whether or not you come back on the other side is always a gamble, but ending a run always has its positive consequences. You take the good with the bad, because at the end of the day, it's not always about the end goal. We know Phineas and Ferb will probably be high and kicking for a long time. Based on the media blitz rolled out to commemorate this new movie, it's hard to see a reality where it's not continued on in some way. At least, its legacy is being carried forth by people who carried the torch first. Though I think even if we never got another Phineas and Ferb piece of content again, I'd still walk away pretty content. Sure, it's about the time we spent together, but I know that behind the scenes, the standard bearers of this crusade will always come back with more and more firepower. It's just a matter of telling
Animation is hard. Like, really hard. Anyone who's ever made anything before will tell you that making a cartoon is impossible. Phineas and Ferb was an animated series that managed to look beautiful for its entire run. Whether Candace had oval eyes or round eyes, whether or not Isabella had eyebrows, whether or not they were with Seth Rogen, because that definitely happened, the show always approached every opportunity to do something extremely interesting visually. And I think it's underrated in that regard. Rob has directed over 60 episodes of Phineas and Ferb. From Star Wars to Act Your Age, from My Fair Goalie to The Wizard of Oz, all episodes that leapt off the screen for me and planted a seed in my memory. While he's not solely responsible for the show's success, he's definitely one of the many people we should thank. We could thank the cast and the crew all we want, but they all came together for the sole purpose and objective to bring these characters to life and create stories that continue to inspire millions across the world. Phineas and Ferb is important to a lot of people, including me. I personally don't know where I'd be without it. Whether or not that says something about my character, I'll just kind of leave that up to their personal judgment. I mean, after all, it's just about the time we spent together. It's just about the time we spent together. With you.
Me?
Yes.
Building a rocket or fighting a mummy or climbing up the Eiffel Tower. Discovering something that doesn't exist. Hey! Or giving a monkey a shower.
Don't try this at home.
Surfing tidal waves. Creating nanobots or locating Frankenstein's brain.
It's over here.
Finding a dodo bird. Painting a continent or driving.